All right, Adrian Macdonald, thanks for doing this, man. Thanks for joining me on the Do Big Things podcast. You just won the Leadville 100, and from what I understand, it was your first 100-mile run. So that's just kind of mind blowing, man. Like, I want to hear all about it. But give us an intro.
Uh,
Tell us who you are.
yeah, first, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, it was my first 100-mile run. Prior to this past year, I was sort of a road marathoner, and before that, a middle distance runner.
Okay.
Um, but once COVID shut down all the road marathons, I felt it was time to jump into ultra marathoning, and um, it's gone great so far.
It sounds like it. Well, a lot of the ultras were canceled too. So, were you able to find a couple races that just weren't canceled, or how did that work?
Um, So yeah, at first I had signed up for one up in Wyoming that got canceled, and then I sort of got this idea to run Leadville, and I got my qualifier at the Austin Rattler,
Okay,
and that one being in Texas where things weren't as strict, it went forward, and that was back in November.
gotcha.
Um, so yeah, and then leading up to that race, NAR Runners, who puts on a lot of races up here in northern
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yep.
They were doing races all summer, so I
Mm,
did their Black Squirrel half marathon, and then there was a smaller race up in Wyoming that I did last fall, sort of in the middle of everything.
okay. So why ultras? It sounds like you had some success at the marathon distance and middle distance. I'm guessing you grew up with some sort of running in your life, but how did it all start, and how did you find this crazy world of ultra marathons?
um, yeah, so I started running as a sophomore in high school. Um, I was cut from basketball, or no, I wasn't cut, but I played freshman year and made one basket. I was cut from baseball and as a freshman, and so then my sophomore year I played soccer, and then my older brother was running track to stay in shape for soccer, so I just sort of followed him to indoor track, and then in college I ran cross country and mid distance, like I said, 800 and mile. Um, yeah, and then after college, I tried to break. I ran 4:12 for the mile in college, and I tried to break 4:10, but I had this groin injury that wasn't going away, and so I switched to the marathon, and that went pretty well.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I just sort of wanted to try something new and like get excited about something. And I had, I guess one thing that has sort of happened to me is like I would do a long run for a marathon and I wouldn't really get that sore. Like people would be like, "Oh, you must be really sore after that run,"
Mm.
and I'm like, "I don't feel that bad." So that was one of the things that made me think that I might be good at an ultra.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally an asset right there. What would you attribute to that? To you either not getting sore or healing up quickly? I mean, do you have like a really good, strong diet, or what are you up to?
Um, I don't know. It might just be genetics, or I might
Genetics.
have a just good running economy.
Okay. Nice. Well, lucky for
Yeah, I
you.
don't know. Yeah.
So when you say you were doing marathons for a while, like what does that look like? Is that a number of years? How many marathons are we talking about?
Um, so I ran my first one in 2014. And I was doing about one a year. 2019, I did two. So I think I did seven total.
Okay.
Um,
And what did the training look like for a marathon, when you're running this elite as fast as you are, were you running big mileage weeks? And I'm curious, like, who your influences were in those days too. Were you like getting it, like reading any literature about running, reading some from the masters of the past, or how was it for you?
So when I first started marathon training, I was coaching myself.
Okay.
Um, and I was sort of I went into it in sort of a rough spot of my running where I had been injured for 3 years. And I was I was living in Boston, running for the Greater Boston Track Club. And it sort of just got to the point where I had been running so poorly that everyone in the club just sort of expected me not to be that fast.
Mm.
So I sort of felt like I needed to go off on my own, and I coached myself for a bit and just did all my training by myself. And um, at the time, I had a physical therapist, and the only kind of speed work I was allowed to do was tempo runs.
Mm-hmm.
Which can get pretty boring. So I, what I did was a lot of progressive tempo runs where I would start out, and this was in the winter in Boston. So I was on like the Harvard indoor track, which is 200 meters, and running 10-mile tempo runs there. But I'd start out running 6-minute pace and try and drop 5 seconds each mile,
Wow.
things like that.
Okay.
And yeah, I've read Jack Daniels, and I've read Lydiard, so I took some of that into my training when I was coaching myself.
For sure.
But then,
do you consider them like influences? Were you heavy into it? Were you researching the topic like in all your spare time? Were you sort of obsessed with this thing, or did you have a healthy relationship with it?
maybe not healthy. I wouldn't say I was like obsessed with any particular coach or
Sure.
training method.
But were you obsessed with running and the distance you were looking at?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Yeah. Were you putting in big mileage week after week?
Yeah, in my so in those days, I was running everything on singles. So I'd run 90 to 100 miles a week on seven runs.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And what brought you to Fort Collins? How long have you been there?
So I've been in Fort Collins about 5 years now.
Okay.
It was a ex-girlfriend that I met in Boston, and her family was here, and that didn't end up working out, but I really love Fort Collins, so I stayed.
Yeah. Colorado's awesome, and if you're training running, this is the Mecca.
Yeah.
So
that was the other thing with like I was like really excited to move to Colorado because when I had come to visit, it was just so beautiful, and I knew it would be good for running and other outdoor activities.
Yeah. Do you have any other outdoor hobbies like besides running? Are you into, I don't know, any, everybody in Colorado is into at least 3 sports.
Yeah. For me, it's mostly running. So before I moved to Colorado, I did a 6-week backpacking trip in the Oregon desert.
Oh, wow.
It's called the Oregon Desert Trail. It starts in Bend and sort of does a W and ends up all the way east in the Owyhee Canyon by the Idaho border.
Okay.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I I'm like proud that I did it, but it wasn't fun the whole way. So that sort of burnt me out on hiking for a few years, but this past year I've sort of gotten the itch to go on some backpacking trips again. So I went to the Grand Canyon last Thanksgiving, and I went to Zion and did the Zion Traverse
Nice.
this spring.
Okay. What is it about the outdoors that speaks to you? And by the way, where did you move here from?
Boston.
Boston. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you feel like the mountains were calling your name, like the John Muir quote, or what brought you out here? And well, I know that you came out here for other reasons, but you said you were looking forward to Colorado. Was it the trail running, or were you still thinking road running at that time?
Yeah, I was still thinking road running at the time, at least for racing wise, but like the opportunity to go run in the mountains. And as soon as I could, I was like looking for roads and that went through the mountains that I could go get up at high altitude. And even just like driving down I-25 and just looking at the mountains, like it like makes me feel better.
Yes, I can relate. So I was at Leadville this year. I've done Leadville a couple times, not nearly as fast as you, but I've done it a couple times. And I was there this year. And just talking to you now, you strike me as someone who's mild-mannered, grounded. And when I saw you coming through Twin Lakes, you were fired up, man. Like the stoke level was high.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about most of the race. Like Leadville is my favorite race, and I love hearing all the details, you know. And so like what was your thoughts going into the day? You know, what was your training like beforehand? I want to hear about the whole Leadville experience.
All right. So I can sort of start with my training, I guess.
Sure.
So I've about 3 years ago, I sort of asked my friend Andrew Epperson if he would coach me, and he's the assistant coach here at CSU. So he's my coach, and he's never coached ultra runner or trail runner or anything before. So it's all been new for him as well.
Okay.
So a lot of what we've done is pretty similar to what we were doing when we were training for a road marathon. The main difference is like I'll do a moderate long run on Wednesday, which is usually 13 miles or so. And instead of doing it in town, I'll go and do it at Horsetooth or Laurie State Park.
Yep.
It'll be 2.5 hours instead of 1.5 hours, and I'll get like 3,000 feet of gain, something like that. And then the long run is the same thing, where I'll whereas when I was doing marathon training, it would be 2.5 hours. Now it's 3, 4, 5 hours in the mountains.
Yeah.
And then we also added in sort of back-to-back long runs. So on like a Friday, I would do sort of like a standard road marathon workout where it's like 15 to 20 miles with 10 miles of tempo work, something like that. And then I would follow that up with a big mountain long run on Saturday.
Got it. Was that tough for you to adjust to at first? Was that a big step in your running?
I wouldn't think so, because I just liked going out and running on the trails. And,
Yeah.
going to new places. And
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so walking up to the start of the race, like what's going on in your mind? Are you thinking that I have a shot at winning this thing? or what's the thought process as you're walking up to the starting line?
Yeah, so my goal was to run 17 hours, which is um, Nick Clark, he's a friend of mine, and he was one of my pacers, and he's sort of been a mentor
Yeah, I saw that.
leading up to this. I had just asked him before I started the training block, what should I shoot for? And he said 17 hours. And so
Dang.
that's where I got that from.
Wow.
And so looking back at previous results, I knew that if I did that, I would probably be in the top 3. So
Yep.
my goal was to be to finish in the top 3. And then there was, once the entry list came out earlier in the week, and I saw who else was in the race, I sort of got a little intimidated, because I had sort of heard rumors about different people that might be doing it, but once it was like official, I'm like, wow, there are a lot of fast guys
Yeah.
in this race. I don't know if top 3 is really realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. But you did it, man. You did it.
Yeah.
Um, and then walk me through the race kind of too. Like, did you have a certain pace that you were trying to set right from the beginning, or were you just trying to keep the leaders within eyesight, or how did it all start?
Yeah, so I had a feeling that Tyler Andrews was going to go after the course record. And so right at the start, he and Cody, who also, I guess, had announced that he was going after the course record, they took off. And I think someone else may have gone with them. I wasn't sure who it was.
Okay.
And so my thinking with that was like, all right, I'll let them go and do that. And there's like a chance, nothing against either of them, but just like it seemed likely to me that one of them probably wouldn't be able to handle that pace. So
Right.
at that point I was like, oh, maybe I can that's like how I'll get second or third, is just focus on beating the other guys.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we ran those first few miles, which are on roads, and when we hit the first trail section around Turquoise Lake, there was a nice big pack, and I had drunk a bunch of coffee beforehand, so I kept having to pee, but it was since it was like so backed up on a trail, like it was going pretty slowly, so I kept easy to stop and pee.
Yeah, you get stuck behind that bottleneck.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, when we got towards the May Queen aid station, it was like finally getting light out, and we actually we took the wrong turn towards the aid station on the road, and I guess they had maybe switched it this year for some reason.
Okay.
And so anyways, like I sort of saw everyone was around me, and I saw that Tyler was there, and I asked someone like, is this the front of the race? And someone was like, I think Cody may be up there, but this is everyone else.
Okay.
So yeah, that was at May Queen, and then there was like I said, there was a nice big pack, and then I didn't really stop at May Queen. Some people did. And so leaving May Queen and then going up the climb to Power Line, trying to think, Cody was way off, I think. And then there was Tyler, who was right there. And there was a young kid, I forget his name, but he said he was doing his first ever ultra. I just graduated from Lehigh.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, and then that's where Tyler sort of took off up the hill. And then I thought that I ran that whole climb and I was feeling really good then. Um, and then on the downhill, I started having, um, I needed to go to the bathroom.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I pulled off, and that sort of went on for the next 15 miles where I
Oh
was
no,
like trying to get everything out of my stomach.
that
Uh,
sucks.
yeah, it was pretty frustrating because like I knew I was like running faster than everyone, but I kept having to pull off and
Uh,
um, yeah.
so that was on the way down power line.
Yeah, way down power line. Then what is the next aid station was Outward Bound, and I like wasn't feeling like my stomach was everything else was still feeling great, but it was just my stomach and
Mm.
wasn't feeling good then. Um, see at Pipeline, I used the porta potty, and it still wasn't good after that. It wasn't really um, somewhere between there and Twin Lakes. I think I got it all out and started to feel better.
Okay, good. I'm curious, that section of road in between Outward Bound and Pipeline, is that something that you enjoy? Like typically an ultra runner looks at that section of the course and kind of dreads it. Like I'd rather be out climbing in the mountains than there's this big section of road. But you're a road runner, you're a marathon guy. Did you take a look at that and say, I'm going to take advantage of this and put the pedal down for a minute?
Um, Really, on the way out, at that point, I was just thinking about my stomach,
Okay,
to be
gotcha.
honest.
Yep. Okay. So, but
Um,
then the stomach cleared up by Twin Lakes. What was Hope Pass like for you? And had you climbed it before in previous training runs?
yeah, so I had that section from Twin Lakes to Winfield and back was the only part of the course that I had gotten out to preview,
Okay.
and I had done it twice.
Mm,
And I was actually like really looking forward to it.
mm.
Um, and I think um, that may have been like one of my advantages was that I was just like, it's so beautiful there. And
Hmm.
you at the top of Hope Pass and you can look around and you're like right in the middle of the mountains. So yeah, I was just looking forward to it
Yeah.
and ready to, my hip flexor was sort of getting tight too. So I'm like, oh, maybe doing some hiking will loosen that up. And
Hmm.
just like a nice change of pace.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what was your splits? What time did you get down to Winfield? Do you remember?
Um, I want to say it was just under 750.
Wow. Unreal. And how much time did you spend in Winfield? I'm guessing it was very minimal.
Yeah, so I went to the porta potty again, and then I went to get my drop bag, and the at the expo the day before, they had tied a knot on my drop bag, and I couldn't get it open, so there was some scrambling there, and
Uh,
eventually they brought over a knife and cut it open. And, so that's why I was the first one there, and then Tyler was in and out, and I was um, a few minutes back again,
gotcha.
leaving Winfield.
Okay. Okay. At what point had you taken the lead? Was it going up Hope Pass the first time?
So going when I got to Twin Lakes the first time, my crew told me I was in fourth place,
Hmm.
and leaving Twin Lakes, I saw Cody up ahead, and I caught him about third of the way up Hope Pass and chatted a little bit and asked him, "So are you in second or third?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in second."
Hmm.
So then I passed him and I was in second. And then I dropped down, or I guess at the aid station at the Hopeless aid station, they told me I was 5 minutes back.
Mm.
And then somewhere, I don't remember who, but at the bottom of on that section where it's sort of rolling from the big descent off of Hope into Winfield, somewhere around there, someone said I was 2 minutes back. I'm like, oh, wow,
Nice.
that's moving up. And then I heard Tyler, I think he must have tripped or something, and I like heard him yell out, and I caught up to him pretty soon after that, and we ran together for a little bit till we got into the campground area, and then I passed him to the aid station. But then, like I said, I had the trouble with the bags and everything.
Okay. 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 So we're at the 50-mile mark. Now we're turning around and doing the whole course again. So, going up Hope Pass for the second time, were you, you're trying to pass first place? Like, how far away is he? What are your thoughts at this point?
Yeah, so I was pretty confident that I'd catch back up with Tyler because he wasn't moving very well. But it's kind of intimidating because you run by every single person in the race. So
Yeah.
I'm leaving the aid station and I see Anton, and like I had watched Unbreakable a number of times. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Unbreakable.
And like there he is, like shirtless and tan and
Chasing you down.
Yeah, and he looks really good. And then right with him is Ian Sharman, who
Ian.
who's won the race 4 times, and he says, "Good job, I'll see you later."
Oh no. Okay.
And I don't know if he was saying if he was like sort of trash talking or
Yeah. Probably
just sort of being nice, but
yeah, like friendly trash talking, it
yeah.
sounds like.
But I sort of use that to fuel me a little.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, and then we get back on that trail there, and I passed Tyler before I started the ascent back up Hope Pass.
Nice. Okay. Okay. And then were you in the lead from that point of the race on? I know when you came through Twin Lakes, you were looking fantastic. And just what was the second half of the race like for you? I mean, did you really have to dig deep into the pain cave or?
Yeah, so I was in the lead from then on.
Okay.
I went up the second Hope Pass. I mean, that's a tough climb. And I saw a friend who I had actually run Hope Pass with earlier this summer, and I was in first at the time, and he gave me a big high five. And his name's Michael. He finished pretty well too.
Nice.
And he's like, don't win the race here. And so I sort of like took that and
it's good advice.
Yeah. I took that and tried not to push too hard going back up Hope Pass.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it a good effort, and it's just so hard, but I made it to the top, and I looked back, and I was sort of like, there's so many switchbacks so you can look back, and I didn't see anyone, but then once I got to the top, you could look pretty far down, and I saw someone coming up, and I don't know who it was, but
okay. So did you feel pressure at that point? Like, people are chasing you down, you're in the lead, what's considered to be early in the race. A lot of people say the race doesn't really start till 60 miles. You're at 55 miles in the lead. Was there anything mental going on? Did you feel any pressure?
I think the most sort of right when I took the lead before I started going up Hope Pass, it was sort of like, oh no, like have I gone out too hard?
Right.
But I was just feeling so good that um, I didn't, I just didn't think that I just sort of had that confidence. Like I'm feeling good. Like why would anyone be able to catch me?
Nice.
Especially
Nice.
when I did get up Hope Pass and no one caught me then.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So down through Twin Lakes, and then you're headed back. Do you continue to feel good? Did you have any low points throughout the day?
Um, I guess the only real low points was my stomach, and
Yeah.
it did, some of that returned
Uh,
going or towards the top of Hope Pass going inbound and definitely going down
okay.
Hope Pass.
Okay.
And then at some point I'm just like, um, I can't keep stopping. So whatever, if I have crap running down my legs, then it will be a funny story when I win.
Totally.
I actually sat down in the river at the river crossing to sort of clean myself a little before running back through Twin Lakes.
I hate to say it, but I've been there, man. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did that continue
But yeah,
throughout the rest
so,
of the race? Or did that get better?
yeah, it did. It was the worst going down Hope Pass, though.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How many times would you say you stopped to go to the bathroom? Do you have a guess?
Um, I would guess from like mile 15 to 30, it was 6 to 10 times.
I mean, it's incredible. You still won the race, man. So do you feel
Yeah.
like you could have shaved? I mean, it sounds like you could have shaved quite a bit of time off of your 16, 18.
Yeah, maybe like it could have been, um, yeah, there's a little bit of time there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious, like what's going through your mind the last 20 miles or so? I'm just kind of grabbing a random number, but from what I understand, the lead between first and second place was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you were just moving ahead faster and faster. Um, were you gaining confidence from that? Did you know where second place was? And what were your thoughts the last 20 miles?
Well, I'll go back to my sort of showboating at Twin Lakes.
Like I said, man, your stoke level was high. Your arms were
Yeah.
going, you were trying to get the crowd going, and the crowd was going nuts, man. So it was pretty
So
impressive.
when I had run the Boston Marathon, I've done it 3 times, and I've sort of done a similar thing there, running down Boylston Street, and it sort of gives me, like when you get the crowd cheering like that, it gives you so much energy.
Totally.
So that's why I was doing that, and I think
Yeah.
it's just fun. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, I was, one of the great things about having pacers is like gave me something to look forward to.
Mm.
And so at Twin Lakes, that's where Nick Clark had, his son Alistair had been at cross country race that morning, so they came up,
Mm.
and that's where I first saw them. So that was exciting. And then I got to run with Tate, who is my pacer for that next leg. So I'm just like, all right, now I get to run with my friend Tate, and Nick's here. Like, this is great. So that's sort of what I was feeling at that point. And then see that climb out of Twin Lakes. Nick had told us it was 800 feet, and it's more than that.
Yeah, I think it's over 1,000.
Yeah. So we got to 800 feet of gain, and we were like, what? Why are we still going up? But yeah, I knew at that aid station, I heard that I think it was 6 minutes I had on second place.
Wow.
And then I left the aid station and we heard cheers, And I said, like, Tate, like, how long have you been running? And he said 12 and a half minutes. I'm like, oh, that
Nice.
means I extended my lead a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, that after you sort of do that climb out of Twin Lakes, that next part of the course is pretty runnable and flat
Mhm.
and sort of enjoyable. It's like nice, you're just running through the forest and
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about tripping or,
Yep.
uh, um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
I sort of enjoyed that part of the course.
Good. And like, what sort of times were you putting down? I know, trail running, like your pace is almost insignificant in trail running, but were you running like a super fast speed that you were looking at your watch going, okay, is it something you were even paying attention to, or were you just going off of feel, I guess?
I was mostly going off of feel, but I was looking at my watch and I'd have to go back and look, but especially on those flat sections, I feel like I was running 8-minute pace or
Right.
7:45, something like that.
Nice. Yeah. How many pacers did you have?
3.
3. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So
So
one from
Tate
Twin
took me
Lakes
from
to Outward Bound.
to
Oh, Pipeline.
pipeline.
Okay. And then
Um,
Pipeline to Mayqueen.
yeah,
And then did Nick Clark take you from Mayqueen to the finish?
yeah,
Nice. That had to have been special. How'd you meet that guy?
yeah,
I mean, I know you're both in Fort Collins.
yeah. So when I first moved to town, he was organizing a Thursday morning run along Horsetooth Reservoir. Um, we'd meet there at 5:30 every Thursday morning, and we'd run out 5 miles, and then some people would tempo back, and so that's how I met Nick. And
Okay.
I'm on the board of the Fort Collins Running Club, and he's not on the board, but the club owns the Horsetooth half, and he's the race director for that.
Oh yeah.
So he comes to a lot of our meetings to because that's such a big part of our club, and he's involved in other committees. So
Got it.
that's sort of how that relationship built.
Okay.
But yeah, he was great. He was tweeting the whole time we were running, even like on the trail. He was like taking pictures and videos and putting them on Twitter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um, what do you feel like your Pacers did for you at that point? Like, were they able to keep your spirits high, or is that something you needed help with, or what's the whole Pacer experience like for you? I mean, I'm guessing that was maybe even the first time you had Pacers.
Yeah, I never run a race with Pacers before. They were sort of just there to keep me company. My spirits never really got too low.
Okay.
And they are good for obviously carrying at Leadville. You're allowed to have them, I think called muling.
Mewing.
So that was another thing I was looking forward to, was getting rid of my vest.
Yeah, right.
So they did that, and that section from Twin Lakes to Pipeline, there were a lot of little aid stations with sort of just water, and Tate was good at running up ahead and filling up my water and then running to catch up with me.
Cool.
So that was good. And then just having them for company.
Yeah.
Jeff, who is my second pacer, he's a real extrovert. And so I picked him up and he was chatting with me and asking me questions. I'm like, hey, Jeff, I don't think I want to talk as much as you want me to talk right now. And he was fine with that. And then he was really good at encouraging me up the power line climb.
Okay. Cool. And I'm curious, are you hiking the power line climb for the second time? Are you running it? What was that like? I mean, at this point, you've got a pretty substantial gap on second place.
Yeah, I was mostly hiking, a little bit of running,
Sure. Okay.
just depending on the grade.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
At
and that
what
was
point
really hard too.
at what point in the race did you feel like you kind of had first place locked up?
Um, I think once I picked up Nick at May Queen, then I was like 100% sure that I was gonna win.
Nice.
Um, and then I think I heard that I had 37 minutes on second place then, and
Wow.
that's 3 minutes a mile.
Yeah.
Um, so that's someone would have to run super fast to catch me at that point.
No doubt.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I was still feeling good, and
Wow.
um, yeah.
Yeah. Unreal. So knowing all that, knowing how far ahead you were in first place, did you still drop the hammer for those last 13 miles when with Nick?
Um, Nick kept like telling me like if you he like knows all the splits, like the fastest splits from May Queen to the finish, and
Okay.
he was like, "Oh, if you run 16:15, you got a top 5 time," and um, all these things, and I didn't really care too much about that um, at that point. But then like I also was like, I've been running a lot, I all day. I kind of want to just be done. So there's some motivation to run faster.
Yeah.
And there were times when he sort of run a little bit ahead of me. I think he was trying to get me to speed up.
Okay. Okay. Um, how much how much did you know about Leadville before you started this race? It sounds like you're somewhat new to ultra. You've done a couple ultras leading up to this, but did you realize the significance of the Leadville 100? How long the race had been around? Did you know who a lot of the other runners were, or were you coming into this sort of blind, or what was it like for you?
Yeah, I don't remember when I had first heard about Leadville 100, but I'm a pretty big student of the sport in general,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I had heard of it. And once I got my little token at Austin Rattler, and it was official that I was going to do it, I bought that book that I forget who wrote it. Um, I forget the name of it and who wrote it, but it sort of went through every single year of the race and how it started, and
Mm,
um, so I tried to learn as much about the race as I could.
okay. Yeah. So you've done your homework for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then
Okay.
yeah, I knew a lot of the competitors too.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I definitely did my homework.
Okay.
I
Okay.
The only thing I hadn't done that I would have liked to have done was run more of the course. Like I said, I only ran um, the Twin Lakes to Winfield and back section.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that was leading up to my next question. Like, what was it like to finish this thing in first place? How much did it mean to you? Or, some people are just humble to a point where it's like, it's just another day, no big deal. Like, what was it like to cross the finish line faster than anybody that day at a blazing 16 hours, 18 minutes?
Um, I mean, I think it's still sort of unreal, and I don't know if I've really grasped what I accomplished yet. But um, I had never like celebrated, or maybe once in college when we won the conference 4x8. Um, and that was cool because it was a team thing. And this is sort of Leadville is sort of a team thing too. Like
Yeah.
I gave Nick a big hug, and then I found Jeff and Tate and gave them a big hug, and like threw my arms out crossing the finish line. They gave me the champagne bottle.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was really excited. And it's funny, I look at the videos and it looks like I felt like I was running fast across the line, but you watch the videos and it's like I was running 9-minute pace. Like it looks like I'm shuffling across.
Right, right.
But yeah, I definitely had that like rush of adrenaline once I finished, and um, it was a great moment.
Good, good. As it should be, man.
Yeah.
Um, what's next for you? Are you planning on Leadville next year? Are you looking at other races, or are you still thinking about improving your marathon time? Where's your head at?
Um, I hadn't thought about improving my marathon time.
I mean, you're already
I haven't.
fast. I'm not saying you need to.
No, definitely right now, trail races are what gets me excited.
Good,
So
cool.
I think I don't know exactly which ones yet, but I think that's what I'll be doing.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll I don't know. I really like the Leadville course. So like I'm tempted to want to just go back and try and defend my title.
Yeah, yeah,
But then I don't know, Western States is sort of the Super Bowl here.
totally.
So that's definitely on the radar too. So
Cool, cool. But
yeah, I don't know
you must like the 100-mile distance. You must have enjoyed it if those are the races you're looking at in the future.
yeah, I did.
Cool.
It's just such a yeah, it's just an adventure, and I think there's something about my body that can handle it. So
Yeah, yeah. You have what all the runners there wish they had, I guess. You know.
yeah.
So yeah, be thankful. I mean, it's awesome, man. Um, and if you run it next year and don't have to go to the bathroom as much, I mean, are you studying Matt Carpenter's route, or not his route, but like his splits, his course record, anything like that?
I don't know. Like um, that's a tall task, I think.
Yeah, it's been standing for a long time. Yeah, but you weren't that far off, man.
Yeah, what it would be what 20 seconds a mile or something.
Is that what it comes out to?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
I don't know if that's exactly it, but
okay. Wow. Well, fantastic performance, man. I mean, I love when someone just kind of comes out from nowhere and just wins a huge race, and it's like, well, who is this guy? We haven't seen him at too many races. So it's exciting to see the sport evolve and to see new people step in. And you're 32 years old, right?
yep.
Okay. So that's I mean, it feels like you're in your prime for ultra running, man. This is like the perfect years. So
Yeah. Well, I looked at the top 10 and I was the second youngest
ah,
in the top 10. So
okay.
yeah, I do feel like I have a good number of years ahead of me to keep doing this.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Um, what's your near future look like as far as, the race was just a handful of days ago. I'm sure you're doing some sort of recovery now, but when do you jump back into training? What does that look like?
So I think I'll take 1 week completely off and then I'll start just easy running. And I'm coaching a high school cross country team
Hmm.
this fall, like as
Oh,
assistant coach.
cool.
And so I'm gonna start running with them and sort of just focus on that for September and October, and then maybe I'll have found my next race and pick up hard training again in November.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your winter training like? Do you ski or anything like that?
No, I'm just running all year
Running all
round.
the time. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much same here too. Well, that's so cool, man. Yeah, just so impressive. And like I said, I don't think I'll forget anytime soon you coming through Twin Lakes, just getting the crowd all riled up. And it was just, it was fun to watch. So just an incredible performance. And, I'm going to be keeping an eye on you just to see what's in your future, man. So, good luck to you. Thanks for doing this. And, yeah, congrats, man. And good luck in the future.
All right, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care, Adrian. Okay.
You too.
All right.